Hello there. This week I've got a surprising little trick for you that is so easy that anyone can do it in single player and in multiplayer. And yet it has such an incredible reward that it can be a game-changing factor very early into the game. Because I just got almost to tier 9 government reform in 1499. I'm the student, and if you always wanted to get ahead of time in reforms by more than 100 years without any cheesing or exploits, then you'll definitely enjoy the following People's Demand for Democracy. So let's get right into the 3 steps that you need to do, and we'll of course start with the first step right away. Because first of all you need to be a republic. Yes, sadly this won't work for monarchies or theocracies. You're going to see in a second why, but before you think that this is, a big problem or something, first of all the blue ones over here, mainly all the Italian nations and so on, are already republics, and of course the free cities in Europe, of course, in the HRE. But there are a lot of nations that get events to become a republic, such as Milan, of course, or Naples, if they would exist over here. They get also an event to become a republic, as well as of course the Netherlands once they form, which you can do really fast in this current patch, of course. And last but not least also Aragon, which I'm playing right now, and I'm also a republic through the event that turns you into a peasants republic. So there are several nations that become a republic naturally, but there is also a way to become a republic as any nation via formation of a republic, basically, because there are 2 nations, 2 formables that turn you into a republic, which are Switzerland and, even easier, the Hanseatic League, where you only need to own Lübeck, Hamburg and Bremen. I'm going to show you the requirements on the screen right now. So it is really easy to become a republic, either via event or via formation if you really want to. But anyways, let's just go on with the actual tactic in the second step. And the second step is to become a presidential dictatorship, which you can see I have enacted right here. And you're going to see in the third step why. But first of all, how to become a presidential dictatorship is actually pretty easy. You just need to re-elect your ruler every single time. And funnily enough, that is actually exactly what you want to do for the mana points, of course. So this strategy is actually not only giving you insane early government reforms, but also it is the best way to play a republic, to just keep re-electing your ruler, okay? But now what happens then is, of course, your republican tradition will drop significantly and pretty fast. And then there are 2 ways to become a presidential dictatorship mainly, which the first one requires you to be below 40 republican tradition, because then you can trigger an event which is called Rise of a Despot, and this event then makes you automatically a presidential dictatorship. It has a pretty long mean time of happening of like 20 years. It gets reduced, that mean time of happening, the lower you go with the republican tradition. So that is definitely a way to go for that. But anyways, if you reach less than 20 republican tradition, then a re-election will turn automatically your ruler into a dictator. Okay, so that is why those are 2 ways. The second one is 100% RNG proof, and the other one is just a little bonus if you get it earlier. So now comes the interesting third step, because the third step is that you need to trigger revolutionary rebels. Yes, you heard that right. You need to trigger revolutionary rebels super early into the game, of course, way before the Age of Revolution. And the way that this can be done is via an event that is called People Demand Democracy. And this event is actually triggering relatively often once you are a presidential dictatorship. Actually, in my case, I triggered 2 of these events within this 10 years of reign of my dictator over here. So it is actually more often than you might think. And this event gives you the opportunity to choose between either pay some mana and get back your tradition by 20, which is a lot, of course, but on the other side, you could just let them revolt, which will trigger revolutionary rebels in a random owned province. And that is exactly what you want to do. And then you want to let them siege down your capital or 50% of your country, whatever happens faster, so that they can then enforce on you. You can't sadly accept the rebels simply, so you have to let them enforce on you. This is almost done over here, 97% already, so it will just take a few more days over here for them to enforce, and then you're going to see what happens. But first of all, very important thing that you need to do while you are trying to get these rebels, you have to save up your entire reform progress. You're going to see in a second why, and not take any reforms, which shouldn't be too bad, you know, just play 50 years without reforms. That's not so bad, right? If you have a lot more reforms after that. I've right now saved up 925 reform progress. Okay, and now, so keep that in mind, that number over here, and now I'm going to let the rebels enforce so that you can see what they actually do to your country. And there we go. You can see already that I'm no longer a republic, which is because I was below 50 republican tradition. If you want to stay a republic, you can do that and still let them win. But just you have to be above 50 republican tradition, and then you keep being a republic, which is also possible. But in this case, I wanted to become an empire anyways, so that is quite nice, and it doesn't really matter to the reforms anyways. So you can see you lose 50 prestige, which is bad, but not too bad, honestly. And then the rebels will also enact parliamentarism tier 6 government reform. And that is basically the pendant to making you revolutionary, which they of course can't because you are not in the age of revolutions, right? So they just try to enforce something pre-revolutionary on you, which is parliamentarism on tier 6 reform. But of course, you haven't taken any reforms yet, right? So you haven't reached tier 6 yet, so they can't just switch. And what that means is that these rebels will also not only try to enact this reform, which they had on the Republic, but I switched anyway, so it's not enacted right now, but they try to enact this parliamentarism reform. But of course, as I didn't had any reform progress spent already, so I was still on tier 1 technically, they also gave me the government reform progress to reach tier 6 government reforms. Okay, and you're going to see that when I choose one of these for free on tier 1, of course, you can see that I have now not 925 but 1825 reform progress, which means that I've got exactly 900 reform progress from these rebels enforcing on my country. And the reason why it's 900 is because 900 is the exact amount that you need to get tier 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 government reforms. That exactly costs 900 reform progress, and that is why I've got them to basically be able to enact parliamentarism what they want to. And if I stayed a republic, then this would be enacted already. So just that you know, but in this case I just got the reform progress, so even better, right? So now let's see how far I can actually get with this reform progress right now. And there we go, you can see that I literally read almost tier 9 government reforms in 1499, okay? So before 1500, I reached almost tier 9 in government reforms. And just for a comparison, of course, France, for example, has only tier 4 in government reforms, okay? And you have to keep in mind that, of course, this is not even just double the amount, because it keeps getting more expensive the more reforms you get, right? So if it takes 50 years for you to get to tier 4 government reform, then it will take you 130 more years, so until 1630, to get to tier 8, where I am already right now, okay? So I'm literally saving like 100 years of time in terms of government reforms. And of course, I'm almost on tier 9 already. And keep in mind that these last reforms have the best modifiers of the government reforms, of course. Over here, 1 monarch skill admin. Over here, 1 colonist. All the others are also pretty strong. There's also thalassocracy, for example, on this tier. This one is also pretty strong for heretics and heathens, for example, or just for unrest and separatism, pretty strong. This one gives you governing capacity. This one gives you admin efficiency. So the last tiers of this reforms from monarchy and also for republic and for theocracy, of course, those last tiers are really the tiers with the strongest modifiers of the entire reforms, right? So if you can skip more than 130 years of time of government reform progress, then this is really a game-changing tactic. And I think you have to admit that this is like no exploit, no cheese at all, you know? I just let rebels win, and I just let rebels do what they wanted to do, and I just saved up my reform progress, you know? This is nothing that you can't do without a great setup or something. This is super easy, it is super clean, and it is super strong. So anyways, this was the video for this week. I hope you enjoyed the content for today, and we are going to see, as always, on the next Monday.